subject of charging interest involved with money that one borrow or lend is obviously the subject of this entire chapter, and we're going to study a little deeper certain aspect of an interest. Today we have several new faces. We are in the early part of page 74 in Tractate Bava Metzia. Obviously, some notes, some ideas, what we're going to speak. Transactions between two parties. One purchase a, let's say, apartment. Israelis are familiar with that. A builder purchases a land and he sells you apartment for very low price, for example 200K, while the market value is like $700,000-800,000, and he basically uses your cash in advance money to build a estate. Is that an issue of interest? Because his capability of building is based on the money that he, meaning the builder, received from you. The subject of asmachta that we discussed in the past several days. Asmachta applies in many phases in Judaism. The simple way we explain it, it's the Gemarrah, the agree upon transactions between two parties. We explain asmachta lo kanya by halacha. Two parties who doesn't have, one party doesn't have the mindset to transfer the sum of money to the other party with all of his understanding and heart, therefore it's ineffective transactions. The simple way we use the subject of gamblers as example, one who goes and put the money on a table, in his mind is at least to get his money back. Obviously it is not like two parties whom one goes to the store and evaluates something and in exchange paid some sum of money, because the one who collects the fund doesn't have the right to access to that fund. He's just making money over other people losing money. That's the concept of asmachta. So another phrase we're going to bring is based on a book called Brit Yehuda, when Reuven hired Shimon, just using names, as a scribe, professional scribe, to write for him a Sefer Torah. Now Shimon have already all the needs, which is the ink, the scroll, all the materials he needs. So we talk a little bit about Ein Sha'ar, which is how exactly you treated the market price when it's come to this, because obviously we knew that the specialty is specialty and each Sefer Torah has his own specialty. But the question is, do you recognize the words that he puts there, which is if each and every word carry its own value independently, or it's a general market value? So that's, again, it's all involved with a indirect or direct issue of charging of interest, and we are really the top of page 74, 2 lines from the top of the page. Top of the page. Amar Rava Hanei beit lata de'avei zuzah lechad lemizban lehu midei. I'm just using names for the purpose of understanding. Reuven, number 1, Shimon, number 2, Levi, number 3, and Dan is separate entities. We call him here number 4. Reuven, Shimon, Levi, each of them gave 100K to Dan. It's a big discussion among the rabbis if the giving of the money was collectively or independently. But before we go there, the idea is the money was given to Dan in order to purchase something. For example, to travel out west, to travel out of the country, and purchase a produce with that value. Now the problem is, vezavan lechad minayu, zavan lechulhu. His intent, Dan intended was only to purchase to his friend, which is Shimon. He doesn't know Reuven or doesn't care for Reuven or Levi. He cares for his friend Shimon. So he went ahead and he purchased. Now, since it was a collection of money, therefore each partner shared it equally. So the issue is this: if it was told or given together, then everyone agrees that it's a collective money. That's the way the Sma, the Bach, and many others said. Now, if it was a change of status, for example, he collected separately, or put, soon you see, a sign on each package, it's a different story. This applies only if each and every one was wrapped and sealed the person's money separately. So the moment is separately, so that's independent money. And because it's independent money, it was sealed, therefore it's one sealed amount of money that belongs to one single entity. אבל צר וחתים איניש איניש לחודי, למאן דזבן דזבן, למאן לא זבן לא זבן. So again, if it was sealed, it was clearly, this package is Reuven, it's his name. Shimon, Levi, that's a different story. So whatever he purchased for, he purchased for. But if he did not collect it in such manner, he didn't put a seal upon each package, he just collect all the money and put them together, the Bach said. That's basically, according to the Tur, is the view of the Rashi and the Rambam. So obviously, with all the assumption is that he mixed the money. Because if they bought it mixed, obviously is nothing to discuss. But here we're going to a very well-known halakha. There's a lot of applications to our days. And that halakha, it's not the oraita, it's not biblical nor rabbinic, but it's something that established within the formulation of halakha. Amar Rav Papi mishmei de Rava, hai situmta kanya. What is situmta? Situmta, some said it's from Greek. The word suntima, which means a mutual agreement, as well as a symbol or item that is used to mark a completion of transaction. That's Rabbi Binyamin Musaifa. Rashi tells us, Chotam sheroshmim achanvanim al achaviyot shel yain. This is a special seal that the chenvanim, the seller, shelokchim arbe biyachad, on those barrels or some type of jar of wine, ומניחין אותן באוצר הבעלים, מוליכים אותן אחת אחת למכור לחנות. So basically they collected that barrels of wine and sent it to independent retails. So as you see, according to Rashi, it was a type of seal that merchants impress on vats containing merchandise after they and the buyer agreed on a term of sale. Now, there are others, like the Ravid, explain that the custom was to close the sack or the opening of the vessel containing merchandise that has been reserved by a particular buyer. But Rabbeinu Hananel said that it was a coin without an image impressed on it, and the buyer gave to the seller as a sign of completion of their transactions. So why it's so important? Because in a practical way, we used to, especially in the jewelry business, is mazal u'bracha. People, for example, shake hands. So what is it? So the Rema in Choshen Mishpat, chapter 201, you see it also in the Rambam, in Ilchot Mechira, chapter 7, If two people agreed upon a price for merchandise, and the buyer labeled the goods with a marker so that it will be clear that they belong to him, even if he still has not paid for his purchase, if one of them reneges of the sale, he receives upon himself the famous curse, the Moshe Para. Moshe Para is the curse that we said that the Bedin imposed. They said, he who extended payment for the people of the generation of the flood and from the people of the generation of dispersion, which is the Tower of Babel, will in the future accept payment for whoever does not stand by this statement. So if it is a local custom that placing such a marker affects a full acquisition, the transaction is complete, and neither of them can renege. But this is also halacha for a symbolic action that trades are accustomed to using for finalizing purchase. For example, you talk about transfer of a small coin to the seller, or shaking hands, or where it's customary, giving the buyer the key to the property. Lemay hilcheta, Rav Chaviva amar lemikneya mamash, which means you can do a kinyan hagbaha, lifting up, or meshicha, pulling, and neither one of them can change his mind. ורבנן אמרי לקבול עלי מי שפרה. According to Rabbanan, to accept upon himself this type of course, which is the rabbinic court does not force the parties to complete the transactions, but applies the curse to the one who withdraw for his lack of integrity. והילכתה לקבולי עלי מי שפרה, ובאתרא דנהיגו למקני ממש קנו. But the place where the custom is that it actually affects the acquisition of the item, it actually affects acquisition of it, as the halacha recognizes the legitimacy of the local customs. So obviously there are question halacha, for example, the mechirat chametz. Do you mean to say that situmta kanya? You see also in rabbinic writing what exactly the situmta when it's come to the kinyan de rabbanan, where exactly the gmirut dat. The Mishnah continues, Hayahu tchila lakotzrim. He says, if the seller was first among the reapers, he may set a price with the buyer only when the produce he has is ready for delivery. אמר רב, מחוסר 2 פוסק, 3 אינו פוסק, ושמואל אמר, בידי אדם אפילו 100 פוסק, בידי שמיים, אפילו 1 אינו פוסק. So here we talk about, soon you see a list of work that needs to be done. So he said if missing 2 of the work, it's the produce were lacking. So he may set a price. If it's 3, so it's not set a price because the time is still not considered prepared, and the selling of a price in advance create a concern of interest. And Shmuel said, by human hands, then even if 100 actions were lacking, we must set a price. But if the necessary actions must be accomplished by the hand of God, then even if 1 action is lacking, he may not set a price. So it's a discussion among the poskim when you have a machine that produces more than 1 action. But that's based on that question. You see soon a discussion that they have a derivative, that's the Brit Yehuda. How you treated the subject of Sofer Stam, a scribe, Yesh lo hakol, if he carries the cloth, the dio, all the materials, if it's אין שר, if considered it's מלאכה בפני עצמה או נתנן, פוסק עמו על הגדיש. So Rav opinion, we learn in the Mishnah that he may set a price on a stock of grain. So the Gemara said, Veha mechusar, but there are still several actions that are lacking, which is pricing mishdachama lemeivash, that placing it in the sun to dry, ulemeidash, and the threshing, umidra, midra, it's winnowing. So you have here 3 actions that are lacking, and yet the Mishnah rules that he may set a price. So they said, Kegon deshada bachama veyavesh. Here we talk about where it's already placed it on the sun and it dried. So consequently, there are only 2 actions that are lacking. Veli Shmuel de'amar bidei shamayim afilu achat eino posek. According to Shmuel, who says, if the actions remain are to be accomplished by the hand of heaven, even if only 1 action is lacking, he may not set a price. So how does he explain the Mishnah? So they said, Vehad mechusar midra the bidei shamayim hi. When you have a lack of winnowing, it does by the hand of heaven. Since winnowing can be done only when there is a wind, this is those days that they used to separate the wheat. So they said, Efshar ben nafevata. You can do it physically with the sieves. So when the wind is not blowing, although this is done only in the very rare circumstances, since it's possible to do it such a way, mainly by human hands, it's we can permit it a clear set of price. Now we're going to the 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th question on Rav. Second one. We learn the Mishnah ועל העבית של ענבים. So one can set a price for a large basket of grapes. So the Gemara asks, you have here several things that are missing. והמחוסר מחמר. Number 1, it's lacking warming in a stock. 2, והיולי לבי מעצר רטה. To bringing the grape to the wine press. Lemeidash, to basically after bringing it to wine press, you're treating upon them, and after that ulmingad, and drawing the wine out into the pit where it's stored. You go to Gush Etzion, close to Yerushalayim, you see the old time way that they used to do that. So you see a situation that it's missing part of the work. So how come we permitted to set a price? So the Sai Kedektani Rabbi Chia, the Gemara respond, we learn from the Braita in regard to oil by Rabbi Chia. Ala komer shel zeitim, ala komer shel zeitim, for a stock of olives that has already been warm. Hachanami ala komer shel anavim. So they said, the same way you have by oil, you go by the stock of warm grape. V'hamechusrei tlat. But there are 3 actions that are lacking, because you don't enter them to the gut, you don't step on them, and you don't put the wine to the pit. So they say, Batra de'uzavinu denagid. Here we talk about the place where the local custom is that one who purchases the grape is the one who draws the wine out of the wine press. So as a result, there are only two actions remaining to complete the labor before the merchandise will be ready for purchase. Question number 3. ועל המעתן של זיתים. So here we talk, one may set a price for a vat of olives. So based on this, והמחוסר, but it's missing, מחמר ועלויה לוידפי, למידש ולמנגד. Again, you have all these parts that missing. So basically there are 4 items missing. תני רבי חייא על כומר של זיתים. So Rabbi Chia teaches us that that's basically applies to stack of olives that's basically already worn. So ha'ika tlat, they're still missing, entering to the Beit Abad, stepping and pulling the oil. Be'atra de'uzavin hu bangi, the same answer. Tosfot asks a question why he chooses olives and not a grape. He says ויש לומר דין רגילות למחמר ענבים כמו זיתים. Anyway, the 4th question on Rav, ועל הביצים של יוצר. One may set a price for the clumps of clay prepared for use by a potter. עמי והמחוסר לפופי ויבושי היו ללאתונה למשרף ולמיפק. They're missing 5 things. So they said כגון למלפפה ויבישו. Here we talk about they're already rolled and dried. והאיקה תלת. So you have here 3 actions that are lacking. בהתרא דאוזבין ודמפיק. A place that one who purchases the clump of clay is the one who removes them from the king. ועל הסיד, the 5th question on Rav, מי שישקענו בכבשן. Again, one may set a price for plaster after he has sunk it in the kiln. So they said, והמחוסר מקלע ואפוקי ומידק. It's lacking, burning it, removing it from the kiln, and grinding it. So they said, בהתרא דאוזבין ההוא דייק. Say the place where the local custom is that one who purchases the plaster is the one who grinds it. ולשמואל דאמר בידי אדם אפילו 100 פוסק למה לי מי שישקענו בכבשן. But according to the view of Shmuel, who says that if all actions that remain are to be done by human hands, even if 100 actions are lacking, one may say a price. So why do I need the statement that this applying only after he has sunk it in the kiln? So Gemarrah said, "Eima mishera'ui leshako bakivshan." You have to say that this is the time that fits to put it in the kiln. So if someone did not prepare, remember this is in those days that they used to prepare those pieces of wood and stones made by hand, etc. Now we're going back to the rules we learn in the Mishnah. ועל הביצים של יוצר. So when it's come to one who clumps of clay prepared by a potter, so you can set it up in advance, the price. תנו רבנן, אין פוסקין על הביצים של יוצר עד שיעשו דברי רבי מאיר. So you have the first view of Rabbi Meir, who said that one may not set a price for the clumps of clay prepared for use by a potter until they are fully formed. Now, if it was before he made those eggs, you cannot set it up. אמר רבי יוסי, באמת דברים אומרים באפר לבן, אבל באפר שחור כגון כפר חנניה וחברותיה, כפר שיחין וחברותיה פוסקין. אף על פי שיש לזה, יש לזה. So he said, here we talk about different type of dust. If it's a rare one, they call it white earth, from which superior clay pottery is made. So that's rare, and usually it's allowed, but here when it's made out of black, since it's common, and Meiri said that it's no really concern, because if it's not by one, you can rely on it by the other. Now here is a story relate to this. המימר יהב זוזי מיקי מעליי אפרה. It was one of the sages, whose name is Ameimar, and he gave money to a seller of clumps of clay only from the time that the clay was brought into his house. So, to whom he follows? Keman, Rabbi Meir, if you try to match this view with the early view we mentioned earlier by Rabbi Meir, it can be. Ha Amar, Rabbi Meir said that you do not set up this type of clump of clay prepared by a potter until ad sheye'asu, until the eggs is made, meaning only. But if it's only bring the earth, no. Ik Rabbi Yossi, if you say that he follow Rabbi Yossi, it's still a problematic. Ha'amar af al pi she'ein lazeh, yesh lazeh. What did Rabbi Yossi say? That even one does not have any of his in his possession, another one have it. So the black earth, since it's so common commodity, so you can do it, you can set it up with a potter in advance. So why Ameimar behave in such a way not to bring the money in advance before they bring those earth to their houses? So the Gemara responds and said, Le'olam ki Rabbi Yosei. You have to say that he acted following the view of Rabbi Yosei. ובאתרי דאמימר אשיק אפרה. So by the place of Ameimar, they have this type of, if they brought the clumps of clay prepared for use by a potter, שמחה דעתי, ויהיב להו זוזי, והיא לא שמחה דעתי. So basically, the Ameimar, they have the local earth suitable for making clay was scarce, so much so that even black clay was not common. So consequently, if the clay was brought into his house, he relied on this and gave the seller the money. But if not, he did not rely on it. So now Gemarrah continue with the din of the Mishnah. ופוסק עמו על הזבל כל ימות השנה. So they say that one may set a price with him for manure on any of the day of the year, and that Rabbi Yossi permitted only if he already had a pile of mature in his dunghill, where the rabbis permitted in all cases. So they said, Chachamim hainu Tana Kamma, the sages is identical to the statement with the first Tana. So why need to repeat it? Amar Rava, Rava respond, page 74, B, Yemot Hagshamim Hika Benayu. You have a difference when it's come to the rainy season. Because in the rainy season said, first Tana said, may set a price for the future delivery of mature of any. At any point in the year, including the rainy season. But according to the sages, why may not arrange for delivery during the rainy season? Because the manure is not commonly available then. In the book Daf al Daf, by my brother-in-law Rav Mandelbaum, he brought a Radvaz. The Radvaz in the Responsa, chapter 278, since we talk about situmta, and if situmta kanya or not kanya, he asked about bris. Someone, Reuven, committed to Shimon that he will be the one who will be the sandik, who hold the baby. And now Reuven changed his mind and he wants to give it to someone else. So he said, here's the point. He says, in your question didn't spell out if that happened prior to delivery or not. If it's prior to delivery, obviously he can change his mind. But if it's after that, it's already commitment. And the source, he brought the source from our Gemarrah, from the idea of situnta, that because we said hai situnta kanya, so that's since that's the minhag, we have the she'erit Yisrael lo yasu avla, people should not do something that's inappropriate, but it's only if something shebal olam, the baby was already born. Ufosek imo keshar hagavoa. The Gemara said one may set a price at the highest rate. So the idea is he may set a price for the future delivery of produce and stipulate that if the market rate falls below the agreed upon price, he will purchase the product according to the lower price, in effect, in the market at any point during the year, which is the price that will provide the highest amount of merchandise for the amount he agreed to pay. So the Gemara said, we bring a story in regard to this. Hahu gavrad yahiv zuzei lindunya devei chamuha. A certain fellow brought money to, gave money to seller to buy jewelry for his betrothed a dowry on behalf of his father-in-law. So his intended father-in-law made him an agent to buy the jewelry for part of the dowry. Lesof dal dunya. The jewelry of dowry became less expensive because the price fell. You see now a cheaper price. So now, the Khatan, the newly groom that sent it to buy it for his in-law, he wants to change his deal with the sellers. Why? Because his in-law refused to accept the dowry in the amount that was agreed upon. Atu lekamei de Rav Papa. They brought a question before Rav Papa. Amar lahem ipasakta imo kashar hagavoa shakil kehashta. Papa said, look, if you set a price with the seller to buy the jewelry at the highest rate, which is the largest amount of jewelry for the price you are willing to pay, so then take the jewelry at the present price. V'lo shkil k'mi'ikara. Otherwise, take it at the price that you said initially. Amulei, that's the whole idea of Gemirus Dat. You remember we talked the other day how many times Gemirus Dat make the kinyan. That's the idea. See it a lot in the rabbinic responsa over Gemirus Dat, because you see, if we have time, we talk practical halachot when it's come to this. So, Amaru le Rabbanan le Rav Papa, ולא פסק שקיל מעיקרא, כמעיקרא. If he did not set a price at the highest rate, so it needs to take the merchandise at the price he set initially. Ma'ot ninhu, it's a money. So when it's giving money alone, we said ma'ot lokanu is not taking acquisition. So that's what we learn, if you remember, in Mishnah in page 44. Rav Papa said, Amar lehu, Rav Papa responded to the sages, Ana name lekabule alei mi shepara ka'amina. I accept upon myself the mi shepara. That's what we mentioned earlier, the act of curse. I pasak השער הגבוה מוכר כהדר בי, מקבל עלי מוכר מי שפרה. היא לא פסק לוקח כהדר בי, מקבל עלי לוקח מי שפרה. אמר לרבינה לרב פאפא, ומאי דרבנן ודפליגי עלי דרבי שמעון. Ravina asked Rav Papa, how do you know that the ruling of the Mishnah, which is that he did not set a price according to the highest rate, he must acquire the merchandise at the price he set initially, is follow the opinion of the sages who disagree with Rabbi Shimon? The Amrei, that's the Mishnah in 44, the Amrei ma'ot lo kanu, ואפילו אחרי, היא פסק השער הגבוה שקיל כדהשתא, היא לא פסק שקיל כדמעיקרא. דילמה רבי שמעון היא דאמר מעות קונות. Maybe you go by the Rabbi Shimon who says that giving money affect acquisitions. And therefore, וכי פסק השער הגבוה שקיל כהשתא. היא לא פסק שקיל כמעיקרא, משום דקן לא זוזי. אבל רבנן בין פסק בין לא פסק שקיל כהשתא, דדעתי דאיניש אתרא זילה. Because the mind, the person's intention is always to acquire merchandise at the least expensive price. So אמר לי, אימו דאמר רבי שמעון בחד תראה. So he said, what Rabbi Shimon said, that applies to one location. One meaning one price that did not change in the meantime. בתרי תראה מי אמר, דילותי מהכי, מי שפרה בלוקח לרבי שמעון ליטלי. וכי תימה הכי נמי והתניא. מכל מקום כך הלכה, אבל אמרו חכמים, מי שפרה מים מכל מקום, לאו דלא שנה לוקח ולא שנה מוכר מקבל עלי מי שפרה, if he changes mind. So, אלא כי כאמר רבי שמעון בחד תרא, בתרי תראה לא אמר. Now is another question they ask over the view of Rav Papa. אמר לרב אחברי דרבא לרב אשי ותיפוקלי דשליח שוויי מעיקרא. The father-in-law initially made the betrothed man an agent, and since he was an agent, the father-in-law could say to him, I sent you to act for my benefit, not to my determined. Purchasing the jewels at the more expensive price is to the determines of the father-in-law, and therefore the agency and the sale itself are nullified. Amar lei, so Rashi said to him, betagara de zavin zabin. Talk, the man, merchant who buy and sells merchandise. So the father-in-law understands that he engages in commerce, and that will not always profit for his trading. One of the issue people have sometimes is they accept the reality that when you're dealing with merchandise, there is a losing point the same as winning. Rashi have two explanations here. The first explanation is said that this talk about the groom that was a merchant, and the in-law agree with him that they should be sold in a certain price, and he bought it in cheap price in order to sell it for the in-law in expensive price and make money over that. So it means that he acquired for himself not in a manner of shlichut, but in manner just to purchase for himself. So therefore the Mishapah applies to him. The second view in Rashi is it wasn't to do with the in-laws, is the groom itself. He made independent negotiation with those merchants in order to go back and sell to his in-law with profit. Mishnah. מלווה אדם ותריסיו בחיטין בחיטין, לזרע אבל לא לאכול. A person may lend wheat to his sharecroppers in exchange for wheat. So here the issue is you give a wheat with the goal that later on they pay you with the wheat in the same amount, even the price change. Usually the sages do not allow this manner of wheat for wheat. Here, the way that the Maramshiv, Marsha and others explain, here is the exception. לזרע אבל לא לאכול. The goal is to do it to plant. So he lend wheat for the shareholder for purpose of seeding, but he's not lending them for the purpose of for the sharecroppers to eat. אבל לא לאכול. שהיה רבן גמליאל מלווה את הריסיו חיטין בחיטין לזרע ביוקר והוזלו בזול והוכרו ונותן להם כשער הזול, לא מפני שהלכה כן מפני שרצה להחמיר לעצמו. רש"י here explained כלומר, which I think that's what he meant, that even Rabban Gamliel has here a manner of chumrah, a stringency, but it's something to be considered. Why? Because you have here the appearance of a loan with interest. That's the idea that the Mishnah mentioned, the stringency that Rabban Gamliel accept upon himself. תנו רבנן מלווה האדם את הריסיו חיטים בחיטים לזרע, במה דברים אמורים שלא ירד, אבל שירד אסור. That applies only when the sharecroppers are not yet gone down into the field to begin to work. But if he had already gone down to the field to begin to work, lending him wheat under this term is prohibited. מה יש נתנא דדן דלא כמפליג בין ירד לבין לא ירד, ומה יש נתנא ברא דכמפליג בין ירד לבין לא ירד? What's the difference between the two תנאים? אמר רבא רבי אידי הסברה לי עלי, באתרא דתנא דדן הריסה יהיב בזרע, בין ירד ובין לא ירד, כמה דלא יהיב בזרע, לא מצא מסלק לבכי כנחית לבשר מאחי כנחית. באתרא דתנא ברא, מרא ערא יהיב בזרע, כי לא ירד דמצא לי כי כנחית לבשר מאחי כנחית. ירד לא מצא מסלק לאסור. So what you see, all these seeds that he's then received is in a different form of loan, and the whole idea of issue of a rebate of interest applies. So that's the idea of se'ah b'se'ah. So now we talk about regular manner of people who does this type of changing wheat. Now remember the historical context that in those days it was common, but we can derive from that different form of people barter over products. You know that many businesses does this internationally. Instead of paying cash, go to Eastern European countries as an example. They many times in those years that I used to work for import-export, so instead of paying cash, they used to pay with merchandise. So they said, תנו רבנן אומר אדם לחברו, person said to his fellow, page 75, Halveni kor chitin vekotzetz lo damin. Lend me a core of wheat, and the lender may set a price for him, stating that the borrower must repay the wheat in the future according to the value of wheat at the time of the loan. Huzlu noten lo chitim, hukru noten lo dmeihen. So again, if it's a depreciate, so he needs to give the lender the quantity of wheat equivalent to what he borrowed. And welcome, come in. And said if it's raised, appreciates, he give the value of the wheat, he borrows a set market rate, and when he borrow it, and he agree, but no more. So the more I ask a question, if the price of wheat depreciates, why should it permit it for the borrower to pay him with wheat worth less than the value of the amount that he borrowed? Valo katzatz. He fixed the price of the time of the loan, so the borrower owe him the amount of money. אמר רב ששת אחי כאמר, אם לא קצץ הוזלו נוטל חיטב, הוכרו נוטל דמיהם. He said, if the lender did not set a price, but merely lend him the wheat, and it depreciates the value, the lender takes his wheat. But if it appreciates the value, the borrower gives the value of wheat he borrow as part of the market rate that he borrowed, and he does it in order to avoid the payment of interest. So several halachot. We know we're running out of time. Just few halachot. Rambam, Hilchot Milveh Veloveh, chapter 10. One may lend grain or to his sharecropper a se'ah for the purpose of seeding in a place where the local custom is that the sharecropper provides the seed, and he has no seed. The landowner can remove him. In a place where it's customary for the owner of the field to provide a seed, if the sharecropper already went down into the field to begin farming it, lending him grain under these terms is prohibited. So even though Alveni ko chitim, so even though he said, lend me a core of wheat, and the lender may set a price for him, that's the Shulchan Aruch Yodea 162, it is prohibited to borrow a se'ah of wheat in exchange of se'ah of wheat. Is not se'ah, is the amount, exchange of this type of barter, unless the price of wheat is fixed, meaning that one must repay a loan with the same amount of wheat that was borrowed. You understand why? Because otherwise you are basically lending money with interest, which is prohibited. Even if the price of wheat appreciates, if the two parties neglected to set a fixed price and the wheat appreciate the value, the borrower must repay him in accordance with the value of wheat at the time of the loan. If the wheat depreciated the value, he gives him back a se'ah of wheat. And that's also the Rambam, Hilchot Milveh Veloveh, chapter 10.
Kar tu